When you first start playing Dead by Daylight, there can be an awful lot of symbols, and what the hell do any of them mean? Hey there guys, my name is EarthToLydia and welcome back to another Dead by Daylight video. Now with the Resident Evil chapter dropping, I'm fully aware that we're going to have a hell of a lot of new players. And for new players, there is an awful lot of information to absorb. So hopefully I'm going to go over some things that'll cover most bases and that will help you when starting your first game. If you like videos like this, if you consider subscribing, I'd really appreciate it. Also, if you can think of any more and you want to ask me personally, you can do so over at twitch.tv/EarthToLydia, where I am live 5 days a week. Now, the first thing that I'm going to be going over are the different statuses of survivors. Just to clarify, this will be different to status effects, which I'll be covering a little bit later on. So the first status that you have is where you just see the portrait of the survivors. If you see the portrait, it means that they are full health, and they'll take 2 hits to put into the dying state before the killer can hook them. The second one that we're going to see is when a survivor gets injured. This means that they've taken 1 hit already, and if they get hit again, they'll be put in the dying state and will be lay on the floor. And then, of course, we have the dying state. This is characterized by a survivor crawling along the ground, and it means that the survivor is ready to be hooked. This status effect does apply for when the survivor is on the ground and also being carried by the killer. Unless the killer has a perk to counteract this effect, you can just look around you and you should see a red aura for a survivor that's on the floor. And then we have a survivor that is hooked. You'll see a small timer to the side of this as well to indicate how long that survivor has left until they are sacrificed to the entity. Next up, I'm going to go over the obsession clause. So when you spawn into a game, you will see these claws around a random survivor, and that is to indicate that this survivor is the obsession. So there are different perks both for survivor and for killer that work specifically when interacting or avoiding that particular survivor, or perks for survivor that make you the obsession. When the claws start twitching, it means that that survivor is being chased. And if they're unmoving, it means that that survivor isn't being chased. Now this one is going to be for anybody playing killer. If you have a look in the bottom left, just above your power icon, you'll see a circle with a hook in the middle of it. This is the amount of hook stages that are in the game. So all of the grey ones are where you haven't hooked survivors yet, and the red ones are where you have. A good thing to note is that if a survivor goes to a 2nd health state on the hook, or even 3rd, then this will update with that information. Then we have skill checks. Skill checks are prompts that will appear when completing certain actions, and have a couple of different variations. So one type of skill check that you get is when healing and repairing generators, and that skill check will have a partially hollow zone and then a fully blocked out white bit. You want to hit the hand right in the middle of the skill check. If you fail a skill check, it will send a loud noise notification alerting the killer of where you are. So you want to succeed them by making the arm land in a success zone. Now, a successful skill check is both in the hollow part and in the fully blocked out white part. If you land it in the white part, then that is a successful great skill check, which can get you extra bonus blood points. And if you land it in the hollow part, then that is a good skill check, which just means that you've succeeded. If you're struggling on the hook, then the success zone will be completely white. Next up, we have status effects. I'm going to be going over the ones that are the most common in the game currently. So this first symbol is the cursed status effect, and that will indicate that there is a hex perk being used by the killer in the game. A hex perk is a perk that is bound specifically to one totem on the map, and in order to break the curse and break that perk, you will have to go and cleanse that totem. The totem will be indicated by a flame, whereas a non-hex totem, otherwise known as a dull totem, will not have a flame beneath it. Next is Deep Wound. Deep Wound commonly happens when you're hit in the Endurance status effect. However, there are some killers that also just trigger Deep Wound by hitting you. Deep Wound means that you're injured, but you also have to perform a mending action for 20 seconds to stop you from being put into the dying state. If you do not mend during this time, you will be put straight into dying. And as I just mentioned, we have the Endurance status effect. Endurance means that for a small amount of time, if you get hit by the killer, instead of being downed if you're already injured, you will be put into Deep Wound. The next one is the Exposed status effect, which means that if you're a healthy survivor, you only need to be hit once to be put into the dying state. Also, Exhaustion tends to happen after you've used an Exhaustion perk, but there are certain add-ons in the game that will also just exhaust you to stop you from using Exhaustion perks. Usually this will have a timer showing around the outside outside to indicate how long you'll be exhausted for before you can use an exhaustion perk again. Another really common status effect that you'll see is broken status, which means that you cannot be healed for a set amount of time or until certain actions are completed. There are quite a few other status effects in the game as well, but those ones are the most common. All of the others can be seen in-game under the information section. Anyway, that is going to be all for the one video. There is of course much more that I could cover, so if anybody wants to add to that, you can leave them in the comments section. And if you're a new player, I really hope you enjoy the game. Be sure to let me know what exactly brought you in. As I mentioned earlier, I will be putting all of my social medias, including my Twitch and my Discord server where you can talk with me and other members of the community and ask us for more advice, in the description. I will also be giving away some copies of the Resident Evil DLC on my stream, so make sure to stop by tomorrow on the 15th. And I want to thank you all so much again for making it this far into the video. Until next time, take care.
Perfect, perfect.